No, how?
Just keep your phone there. He didn't say.
Ken?
Yep, keep
Okay.
it there in
Is
case
your
you might
key
be at the
working here?
courthouse.
Okay, let me try yours.
School board meeting, budget public hearing will now come to order. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next, we have some information items.
All right, so
Hold up.
whoops, oh, sorry. You have information items.
Yes, I
I'm
have-
sorry.
I have an
I
information
jumped the
item.
gun on that one. Sorry about that.
Okay. Those who don't know, Dr. Sykes has been named Virginia Associate of School Superintendents, Region 3 Superintendent of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
There are 17 schools, districts in the region, Region 3, which span from Gloucester County to Stafford County. As well as the superintendent of Middlesex County Public Schools, Dr. Sykes serves as the vast Region 3 chairman and the member of the board of directors of the State Superintendent Leadership Council. She serves on many other boards and committees as well. Since Dr. Sykes' appointment to the superintendent of Middlesex County Public Schools, Dr. Sykes has led the implementation of the strategic plan and has results in all students' achievement growth and has improved the organizational effectiveness of the division. This award now makes Dr. Sykes a contender for the Commonwealth Superintendent of the Year, which will be announced in April. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Sykes on her Region 3 Superintendent of the Year. Well done.
Thank you. I think it speaks volumes to Middlesex County Public Schools. This is always a group effort and a team effort. We have great dedicated staff members in every position that we have. And of course, I also want to thank you all for being such a supportive school board.
Very well.
Great to work with. So thank you, and I'm sorry I jumped ahead of you.
That's okay. It's all good. Okay, information items for tonight will be budget presentation. Dr. Sykes.
Okay, now I can start.
Now you can start.
All righty. So I will say that most all of this you've heard 2 times. I've added a couple of slides since the last time we met, and I'm going to go through the presentation this evening, which always starting off with our mission and vision, because everything that we do is based on our mission of engaging, inspiring, and empowering our students. Oh, sorry, because it's just like we did last time. These are not connected, so I'm going to might sit sideways and look at that a little bit. And so our strategic objective, of course, is based on 4 key priorities in our strategic plan, which are the driving force behind everything we do. And so for the benefit of those listening, to separate out what the responsibilities of 2 boards are, because we did have a joint work session last week with the Board of Supervisors, with reference to the appropriating body, which is the Board of Supervisors. The schools do not have the ability to raise any of their own funds. So the local operational budget comes directly from the Board of Supervisors. And then when, in terms of who governs those funds, that is what you all are responsible for. You all, the school board, are the governing body and have that legal duty to manage and control funds, which is stated in the Code of Virginia. And so talking about our funding sources, our funding comes from 4 sources. First of which is state, that I'll speak about. That is, the state funding is fixed. It's based on our enrollment, and it's based on our composite index. Our current budget is based on an enrollment, or when we say ADM, or average daily membership, of 1,160. Next year, we're basing that budget on 1,170. And I should point out, this is K-12 enrollment. It doesn't include our preschool children because they're not funded through the state source here, and it does not include our separate private day students that may be attending in another location but are still our students. The composite index is also set by the state. It's re-benchmarked every 2 years, and it does remain a 0.6389 for FY26. It'll be benchmarked again in November. And that formula is used, it's a state formula, and it is used to calculate what the locality is responsible for when it comes to school funding. And in the county of Middlesex, that means that 64% of our budget is expected to be picked up by the locality. So we are very heavily dependent upon our county, our Board of Supervisors, and our citizens and taxpayers here, because that's who supports the bulk of our budget, meaning we are also the largest the largest part of the Board of Supervisors budget also. We also receive some federal funding. That's made up mainly of IDEA, which is Individuals with Disabilities Act, and that's our students with disabilities. And then our title funding. The elementary school is a Title I school, and that means it's based on the percentage of students who are eligible for free or reduced lunch. And that funding goes to support teachers and other resources. And then additionally, at the federal level are vocational funds, which we refer to as Perkins funds, and they go into our CTE programs. The other funding section is very, very small. It's made up of tuition of non-resident students, rebates, refunds, donations, grants, things that we don't necessarily know what we're getting for the incoming year, and so this category can fluctuate the most. And then lastly, our local operating funds, and that's what's supported by our locality. And in this case, as I explained, it's where our county picks up, or is expected to pick up, about 64% of school funding. So this next slide shows, it's a graph of what those percentages represent. So at the state level, they fund just about a third of the budget. The federal funds make up about 4% of our budget, so again, not a lot. Other is extremely small, only 0.4%. And then lastly, you can see that the largest portion of our budget, as I've explained in the earlier slides, is represented by our locality, which sits at 62.3% for FY26. So this chart, next chart, shows you what the changes are going from FY25 to FY26 for state, federal, and other. You'll see that state funding is up slightly, and so we've got an increase of just over $200,000 in state funds. Federal is down almost $5,000, and then other funds are down almost $12,000. I know you've heard me explain that that's the others that we know that are going down is related to the solar renewable energy credits that SunTribe paid for 5 years of that contract, and we're at the end of that 5-year contract, and so that's what causes the decrease in the other funds. These numbers are based on the governor's budget, and so the General Assembly has just closed and they presented their budget to the governor. I would love to say that in a month we would know whether that's approved or not approved. So we go with what we know are facts right now, and that's the governor's budget. And to budget considerations, I include this slide to go over where we know our increases are for any given year. In terms of operations, it actually really is a small increase, just about $36,000. And that is mostly tied to contract increases and utility increases that we know go up each year. Health insurance, I did share with you at last week's meeting. We just found out that there is no increase to our health insurance plans this year. Very excited about that. I know I was in my Region 3 superintendent's meeting on Thursday, and one of our neighbors got a 21.4% increase to health insurance. So we're very fortunate that we do not have an increase there. Positions, this budget does include 4 new positions. I'll go over briefly what they entail. I know that I've shared those with you, but for those who have not heard, there's a special education, early childhood special education paraprofessional, and that is due to class size requirements and our need to expand the classroom this year for those preschool students, and it does require another adult to be in there. Speech language pathologist, that also is a special education requirement, and that also is directly tied to the number of students who need services and the maximum amount that at any time a speech language pathologist is allowed to serve. A third one is division special education coordinator, and that's because we've seen an increased need for both classroom and teacher support and training to help with compliance in those areas of students with disabilities. And then lastly, the 4th position is a K2 or kindergarten through 2nd grade math coach, and that's based on testing and screenings that we've done throughout this year. We've identified deficits in foundational skills where we need more of a mathematics specialist in that area to support both teachers and students pushing into the classroom. And then compensation, I will go over in the next few slides. And so this chart, which I recognize is a little bit difficult to see, does represent 10 of the counties in our region. As Mr. Reed shared, Region 3 is made up of 17 divisions from Stafford County down to Gloucester. Not included in this chart are those in the northern area, and especially those in larger school divisions. So these 10 represent the counties around us that are in like size. What you can see is that in the yellow, it gives the lowest salary in the group. And for steps 0 and 1, which are new teachers coming in, Middlesex ranks at the very bottom. When we look at how we compare, you'll see that we start off ranked 10 out of 10, 1 being the highest, 10 being the lowest. We come up a little bit to 9 out of 10, and then 8. We eventually hit 6, but we never get any higher than that, and then we drop down further as we get into our 20 to 30 years of service. Last year, when I shared this exact same ranking, when we were looking at the 2024 current salaries, we ranked 6 out of 9, and in that year we had moved up to about 4th and dropped back down to 5th or 9th. And so you can see when we compare the 2024 scales to the 2025 scales, we've dropped even more. I know you've heard me share that we lose approximately 20% of our instructional staff each year to retirements, resignations, or leaving. What we're seeing more of these days is leaving teaching altogether and moving into the private sector. The governor's budget does include a 3% raise for SOQ-funded positions, but if we only give an SOQ-funded raise, we're going to be the only school division in these 10 that I've shared in the other chart that has a starting salary below $50,000, which means even more that if we're looking at Region 3, we will be the only school division out of 17 in Region 3 with a starting salary that low. Teachers are the area that we have the most difficulty hiring. Teachers are required to have a bachelor's degree, and then on top of that, they need a teaching license, or often we refer to endorsement from the Virginia Department of Education. And I will share that VDOE, and the Virginia Department of Education, has the highest standards and requirements for teacher licensure throughout the U.S. And so again, this is the group that we struggle the most to hire. Because of that, this budget does include a 7% compensation increase for teachers and then a 4% increase for all other staff. And so this slide shows you how we are funded in our categories. School divisions can either be lump sum funded or categorically funded based on the state categories. Our Board of Supervisors chooses to fund us categorically, and so this is just the breakout of what that looks like. You will see that instruction is the bulk of the budget, which is required. I think all of them are self-explanatory except maybe administration, attendance, and health, and that's made up of all the central office staff, it's school board members, it's our nurses, our division social worker, our division psychologist, our speech language pathologist, and so those people fall into the category of administration, attendance, and health. And so when we look at what the changes are for these categories from the 24-25 year going into the 25-26, what's proposed, you can see that the bulk of this change, or where the change is the highest, is directly related to new positions and salaries. The administration, attendance, and health looks like it's so much more. That is where the new speech language pathologist falls, and then adjustments that were made to the specialist salaries when we made a 7% increase to teacher salaries. Specialists work longer, have a longer contract than teachers. And so when you're working an extended period, either a 210-day or sometimes a 240-day, you have to expect that the salaries are going to be higher than what teacher salaries are. They also include a master's degree in those, but everything else is related to or due to inflation. And you can see that transportation is a 0.87% increase, operations and maintenance a 0.83%, and even technology is only a 1.51% increase for FY24. And so the next chart breaks it out by other categories on where we spend that money. You can see that salary and benefits make up 76% of our budget, which you would expect. Things that fall in the other category are utilities, insurance, leases, rentals, travel, dues, membership. We do pay tuition to the Chesapeake Bay Governor School, the Bridging Communities Regional Career and Technical Center, the RCC welding program, our students who attend the JRTC program in King and Queen County, and then the regional special education program. And then, as I said, that salaries and benefits make up the largest part. You'll see that the instructional personnel receive 80% of those salaries. Again, it's what you would expect to see the largest area of. For capital improvements, last year we just had a bus replacement. There have been some years when we've had an opportunity because of grants that we've been able to purchase electric buses with no additional cost over what a diesel bus costs. And so that's thrown off some of this, how we've mapped out purchasing buses. But typically we are on a bus replacement cycle of one bus per year. That allows us to bring a new diesel bus in and then get rid of any of the buses or move out of our inventory a bus that's been on the road for over 15 years. And so you'll see a bus in here, 2 new added categories or 2 new additions for this year. The standby generator here at St. Clair Walker, it is original to the school, and the school opened in 1994. It is past being able to be repaired unless things are retrofitted. So it costs us more to keep it going than it does for the benefit that it provides. It's a cost to us. And then MHS rooftop units, those service the cafeteria area at the high school. They also are close to 25 years old. They are past their life expectancy and how they're rated for what they are used for. They are also an additional cost to us for repairs. For the generator, I do believe that we are working with the county for the potential for a grant that would help cover that, because St. Clair Walker is designated as a backup shelter if that's needed. And so that could be funded mostly by a grant if the county's able to move forward with that application. And so when you look at the variances and all of these categories going into 25, 26, you will see that capital outlay shows almost a 47% increase. As I explained, we had 2 new items added to that, and so if you go from just 1 bus to the next year having a bus and the other 2 items, you're gonna certainly see a larger percentage increase. And then you'll see that salary and benefits are where the other larger areas for increase. As I explained, a 7% for teachers and a 4% for all other staff. You'll see that the salary and benefits have increased on average between 6 and 7%. Everything else is mostly due to the inflation areas. And so as an overview of our revenue summary and what our needs are, as I shared earlier in the evening, state funds are up. We are seeing some increases there. There are multiple categories within the state funds. Some areas have increased and some areas have decreased. So we see an overall increase of just over 200,000. Again, federal slightly down and other slightly down. And so the increased local support that's needed, and that's what we call our operations department, and that is from our locality, from the Board of Supervisors, is an additional $979,255 with almost an 8% increase. Debt service has decreased slightly. And so these are general fund numbers. They don't include textbooks. This number doesn't include textbook, and this number does not include the CIP, which I shared. And again, this is the budget. These are the numbers that are based on the governor's budget. And so if any of the state numbers change as we move forward, then that impacts the local request also. And so just to recap, this is based on an enrollment of 1170, so adding 10 more students to next year. It includes a compensation of 7% increase for teachers and 4% for all other staff. It does include the addition of 4 new positions and then any other naturally occurring inflation, which honestly, I have to say, has not hit us terribly hard in this budget proposal for FY26. I shared that the General Assembly has adjourned. We don't have a calc tool for that, but just looking at some of the preliminary numbers that Ms. Mary and I have both looked at, there is the potential for an additional $200,000 if everything that the General Assembly has requested goes through. We just don't know when that would be finalized. So again, we base it on what we know the concrete numbers are. You're all aware, and as I shared also for the public, that we had a work session with the Board of Supervisors last week. And so next steps are that at our March 10th meeting, I will bring a final budget back for your approval, which will be submitted to the Board of Supervisors by April 1. And the submission by April 1 is a date that's required by the Code of Virginia. And so before you turn it over for public comment, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any board members? We've heard this presentation
This is your 3rd time.
3 times, so I think all of our questions have been answered. So at this time, I will open the floor to public comment and let it be known that public comment tonight is budget only.
Mr. Mike Nez, Harmony Village.
Well, this is about the budget meeting. I came to the parking lot for the first time early, and I only saw a couple cars here, and I'm going like, did I get to the right place? I looked in the paper and online, there was no notice there. I looked in the website, school board, events, I saw nothing about this meeting. I'm going like, is it down in the Saluda Courthouse? But finally, I saw somebody come in the side door. So I just, if we just had one more person here, that would be a 50% increase in your attendance. And if you had 2, that would be 100%. So I'd encourage you to put it in the paper, let people know that it's. In public notice? It wasn't in speak out, attend and speak out.
It's a big public notice that we have to put 2 weeks prior to this meeting by code, and I have to keep it in my audit books.
Well, I don't think it would cost anything if you put it in where people usually look for
It-
public events, for, you
Our
know.
auditors and state code requires that we put it like the county puts the
Right.
big public notices. We have to put this that way.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
understand that you have to put that, but in addition to that, you know, for people like me, you know, that don't know to look into public notices, and I look on your website, it'd be helpful. And, because I want to be able to support you, and I want the public here in the county to be able to support you with your budget requests. To me, you know, it's why I'm here. And we need more people here because we can see, you know, we're last place and we're losing teachers, and our children are not getting the education that they could be getting. I mean, people are working hard and they're burning out. So, you know, if we can help you in any way, we want to get your budget passed.
Good evening. I know I was at the work session. I know the pressure that you're under as far as being a county resident. I'm not concerned about the Board of Supervisors because my child is a product of Middlesex County Public Schools. My child has not had core teachers this year in 7th grade, which is detrimental at this point. So to me, the teacher pay is the ultimate budget item. And I understand we gave them some money last year, but as you know, when Dr. Taylor was here and the audit or the survey was done, we were behind then. We never caught up from then. We're still behind now, and we got new board members. It is detrimental on what our children are going through to try to keep teachers. And the only way we're going to keep teachers with no housing, no nightlife, is by pay. So I don't know what it's going to take. It's a think outside the box. And I'm sorry that the board members, the Board of Supervisor members, do not have children in the school. But my child is a product of this school, and I pay my taxes. So I really think it's important that we try to find a way to do something with the teacher pay. Because her not having an English teacher all year long, and now she's going into a seasoned 8th grade pod with seasoned teachers, the shortfalls this year are definitely going to hurt her next year. We did the one session tutoring when we came out of COVID. My child learned nothing from it. I made her stay after. She goes to remediation. She knows nothing from it. Nothing has fixed the issues that we fell in during COVID. I commend you on getting all the CIP projects that you got taken care of throughout COVID, but I also think you need to remind the Board of Supervisors how much money you have actually saved them, because I think they forget that. But teachers is something that we need to focus on. And Ms. Murray, she has been doing an awesome job with her audits, no issues. She knows when they ask questions, she knows where every penny was without her book. And they can't do that. So I think the focus needs to be on teachers. I understand other things need to happen. I understand issues with the busing, but there's a lot more of us bringing our kids to school and taking our kids home. We got to focus on teachers. They need an increase in the budget. Thank you.
Seeing and hearing none. Public comment is now closed. Okay. Have any other business to take care of tonight? Dr. Sykes, board members? Being none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Move properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion is carried. We are now adjourned.